Live again. We're doing some Martial Powers Monday lunch stream. We had a mishap earlier that I didn't know how OBS worked properly, so I think I got that fixed. Let's see if it's true. Sure is. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take a moment here to punch some signals on Twitter and the different Discord channels that I like to run and play on. While I'm hitting some buttons here real quick, you could do me a huge favor and hit some buttons, like, subscribe. Also, in the description, there are links to the different a number of books that I've published on DMsGuild, as well as my Twitter account. You can keep track of the artwork that I do, of the different times I go live on stream to produce content, and blah de blah. So I just need another moment here to finish punching out these hey, I'm live signals, and then we're going to get today into both magic paradigms as well as looking at maneuvers, continuing to clean up maneuvers. So now that I am through all my do, get rid of that. That's fixed. Okay, great. Martial powers. Hey, let's look at these. Okay, so I'm going to set a clock here so I can keep track. I've got at least an hour and a half that I can put in today, though I can put in as much as I want. So we'll see how far I get on this topic and where we need to go from there. So leaning in, stepping out, leaning in to where I can read because I'm blind as a freaking bat. We got our coffee. Okay, so I'm cleaning up my Patreon so I can put all these there for anyone just to look at as a link without having to pay to get access to it. It's just a good central location without me having to worry about managing any kind of a community, which I don't have the bandwidth right now to do. So I figure if I have Patreon and just post all the links to the content I'm producing in Google Docs, it'll be there for you. So stay tuned later this week. I will come back and I will announce that the Patreon is up. No obligation for any kind of investment to see what I'm doing, but it certainly is appreciated. So if you check the links that I have, if you check the playlists that I have on my channel, you're going to see this is the 10th episode of me developing martial powers here on stream on Mondays. We have this playtest content that we put together a couple streams back. We rebuilt all the Blood Hunter features and abilities into, I forget what they call their spell selection, power stuff, maneuvers, whatever. Anyway, all that Blood Hunter stuff we converted into mana options. You pay mana to trigger these things instead of cutting yourself and bleeding. So it just seems a little bit more open to a larger community that might not have questions about that sort of activity in their game, as well as further bending into the mana paradigms that we have. If you check the description below, you'll see a link to DMsGuild. All my different mana products that are currently on DMsGuild are 100% free, 100% preview, so you can look at the entire book, all of them, like 200 some odd pages of stuff, before you decide to invest in any of it at all. And if you do, the full bundle of all of it's at a 35% discount. So jump in on that, or just pick and choose what you want. Win or lose, you can't fail. So Martial Powers, Ranger, Monster Slayer, the current playtest content that I have here is specifically with Ranger, but this week we will also, before dropping on Patreon, expanding out the Fighter, the Rogue, and the Barbarian to integrate in this as well. Later on, we're going to be having both Paladins, Artificers, and Warlock options for Martial Powers on top of it. So be welcome to keep an eye on what we have going on here. But as we've discussed before, and just to reiterate briefly, level 1 to 20 for Ranger, you have up to 5th level. Martial Powers are more flexible and dynamic than normal spell casting, so accessing powers is just a touch slower than what rangers would normally gain things under normal spell casting. And if your DM wants to allow both spell casting and martial powers for the druid, for the ranger, but then you certainly can. At 9th level, you get 3rd level spells, but again, at 10th level is when you actually click in with 3rd level martial powers. If you're using the spellcasting paradigm along with martial powers and you are gaining 3rd level spells as normal at 9th level as a ranger, then this would allow you to also tap into up to 3 mana for you using a martial power, not just 3 mana to cast a spell. Though I recommend, if you're going to be using martial powers, to lean into powers being your primary magic, the primary types of magic that you're using, and delaying the spell progression to the martial power progression. So at 6th level, you could acquire both powers as well as spells at 2nd level, but that's up to you. I mean, your DM could allow you to stay with the 5, 9, 13 paradigm of gaining spell levels at 5th level as usual, and then allowing you to gain martial powers as well, which would mean like at 9th level, you have access to 3rd level spells, which then means you would also have access to D8 die rolls. That is a discussion that will be included in the martial powers campaigns, just to look at how open a toolbox this is for DMs and players to work together to build the kind of characters that they want, and for the DM to decide how you want to use martial powers and how much of it you want into your game, which we'll be discussing here in a moment. The playtest currently content here is offering mana options to regain mana on a short rest at the same progress as a monk gains it. And there's also the long rest mana, which is you only gain your mana once when you finish a long rest, and that would scale into what is already shown in the doobly-doo down below, the description, all the mana books that I've done. Universal Spell Points and High Magic, as well as the 5-color Magic Paradigm Core Mechanics books, both have long rest progressions for Rangers as well as for Paladins that scale up to 40 points at 20th level. This is opening up. It's 358 listed currently in the USP and the Core Mechanics books, but when we update, we're going to be changing that to 468 paradigm that we see here. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to keep long rest as opposed to short rest for Rangers, Paladins, Artificers, because of the burst capability that Paladins have. The restricting power without a good reason, it generally isn't good design. If the game system is already, like for example, you can go in, you can make changes to Stunning Strike, but you have to assume that if someone's going to use your Monk product, that Stunning Strike is just going to be left alone. That players like Stunning Strike as it is, and that they have no interest in changing it. So if you're presenting content that says you can't use Stunning Strike rules as written, then chances are they're not going to be very interested in what you're building. So when you're building stuff, you really need to be thinking about what already exists inside of the game, what makes a class strong or weak, what are we looking to keep and get rid of, and if you're looking to get rid of stuff, making those things optional class features, not this my way or the highway, because they could just step around that anyway. If your mentality is, look, the way the game is written right now is here. Like for example, we have examples in the Ranger here of replacing what am I trying to think of? Hunter's Mark is a spell, and so in this product we are offering an alternate Hunter's Mark. It replaces Hunter's Mark spell. You can certainly use Hunter's Mark as written as a spell if you want, but this Mark of Prey instead, as a 2nd level class feature, replaces the 1st level Hunter's Mark spell, and which is as an object interaction, which you get 1 per round. It doesn't eat up your action economy. It's already a superior choice just because of the action economy used to activate it. But otherwise, it's really similar. This gets rid of added damage per attack on a creature. This instead increases your accuracy, allowing you to hit them more easily, along with the int and the whiz options that you still have. So, and then you can switch targets when they hit 0, or with an attack roll as an object interaction. You can switch it out, and it doesn't. While you let's see, as an object interaction, you can mark a target 90 feet away as your prey. While marked, you gain +1 power die, and starting at second level, it's 2. It's a D6. You have a D6 bonus to attack against that marked prey. While marked, you can make intelligence investigation and wisdom perception checks with advantage against your prey. And marks remain until the prey drops to 0 hit points. You switch targets using an option interaction, or dismiss the mark as part of your turn, or take a or begin a long rest, So it doesn't have a concentration requirement. It doesn't have a time limit per resources. It's you mark somebody, you're going to get the attack roll bonus, and you're going to get the bonus to wisdom and investigation. And if they're out of the range, you can't shoot them. So, I mean, the best thing you can do is try to track them down again, or as an object interaction, you can switch who your target is. So that's like a change that you can make to Hunter's Mark that I am encouraging inside of this book. It opens up a lot of options, like the Monster's Class Fury, the Slayer's Quarry, and the Slayer's Rebuke. These all hinge on making use of Mark of Prey. So, okay, so that's just the basic ideas here about like the guiding philosophy of when you're making changes. Like, for example, all these mana things, you can still use spell slots if you want. If you have a 3rd level spell slot on your ranger, it's just effectively spending 3. It's pre-packaging the amount of mana that you spend at a time up to your max limit already. So 9th level character, 9th level ranger has access to 3rd level spells if you're still using spell slots. If you use that spell slot, then you're effectively triggering 3 mana worth of martial powers when you use it. Third level as an exploit would be the 3 dice rolls that you add into, and then pick the best of for the ability check that you're making, or the attack roll that you're making. If it's for a strike, it'd just be pre-packaged as 3 dice. And so 3 would be 3d8. So there you go. But you can instead use this flexible system. And I suspect we're going to stay on long rest in the long run because of the burst potential that Paladins have. I personally don't think they actually need to be able to have a bonus action to trigger a smite spell and then on hit be able to double down on the amount of mana. But that's the game system that we have. So we have to build the mechanics into that effect. And I'm pretty happy with the language that I have for Paladin smiting, using the on-hit combined with bonus action to deal additional damage. But I'm coming at it from a different direction with martial powers, as so many things in martial powers do. So you'll keep an eye out for that. We might post something on that maybe on Thursday. I'm not positive if I'll be around on Thursday or not. So we'll see. We'll see how the day plays out, and if I have an opportunity to do that. Let's see, Magic Paradigms. Okay, great. So we're talking about Magic Paradigms. Hey, it's only been 12 minutes. So we got through the precursor stuff. And so now we're into the new content that we're looking at. Magic Paradigms. If you look at the books I have bundled down below, you'll see Elemental Key, which is the 4-element, Monka Way of the 4 Elements, which creates a magic paradigm of elemental magic. If you want to use earth disciplines, you spend earth mana to do so. You can choose on a short or a long rest as the system describes, and as will become standard in the Core Mechanics book and the Knights and Tricksters book. And I'll be updating that language, and you'll see that there will be a common through line that you can completely change how you devote your mana on a short rest or a long rest. So the default universal mana is that there are no distinguishments in devoting your mana to specific paradigms. The default system in D&D is the 8 schools of magic, but once you say a spell is an illusion, if you're not an illusion wizard, then there's pretty much no other mechanical effects that the school of magic has on the game at all. It just does. It may as well. It's more like a suggestion about like, how do you describe this? But there's no descriptions that go along with an illusion spell other than you create an illusion. And if you successfully identify that it's an illusion, you can tell that it's an illusion. But like in these magic paradigms, if you wanted to say illusion magic is largely allocated in the 5-color magic paradigm, the blue magic, though there is, I think, some that bleeds into black. But if you were to use the 5-color magic paradigm with illusion spells, then you would need to have blue mana in your pool to be able to cast those illusions, unless the spell is devoted to black, in which case you would need to have black mana in your mana pool to be able to cast those spells at all. And when you do, say we're talking blue, if they can identify the spell as an illusion, then it would have a blue haze to it. Like, it would have a blue highlight. It would feel, you'd look at that thing and it would just be, it would have like a blue opacity to it. You can slightly see through it, and what you can see through would be a bluishness. So it's like, oh yeah, that blue thing over there, that's obvious magic. Objects that are obviously fake and unreal, that like a minor illusion. Like if you create a hologram display of what you know a map looks like, or the interior of a building that you're familiar with, or even a terrain, the highlighting effect on that would have like this blue aura overall emanating from the holograph that you create. But you could have like blue and white and black things inside of there. And like if you're getting really detailed, you could show mana lines connecting different things in different colors depending on how you build them. But the overall effect of the spell as an illusion, as a cheap illusion that's obviously an illusion, would be blue. So a lot of blue lighting in Bard in Bard concerts. So that's just a very small flavor mechanic that you can add to your game that just goes a long way to have that visual narrative about what kind of magic are we dealing with. But 5-color magic, although it certainly is my favorite, is only one of many possible magic paradigms. The Elemental Keybook linked down below in the bundle, you can click on it, and then you can click into the preview or the eye if you're looking at it on mobile. The little eye indicates that there's a preview available. It'll allow you to download the entire document as a sample for you to review. And again, if you like it, I would love for you to come back, buy it, and then give me a 5-star rating. That'd be fantastic. Like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all that stuff. But so those are the two magic paradigms that I've been developing on DMsGuild: elemental magic and 5-color magic. 5-color magic has a much more extensive lore and information provided through MTG, and obviously WotC is attempting to find out how they can build books that people actually like, that use the MTG setting. I love that they keep trying. I hope that they're making enough money for them to keep swinging, because they'll eventually get it right. And so good luck to them on that. But so we've been talking about the 8 schools of magic being default universal mana, that you spend a point of mana and you can cast any spell that you know, or in this case, use any power that you know. There is no distinguishment between one and the other. But if you're going to use a magic paradigm that has any kind of real, like 8 schools is too much to devote mana to each school. That's outrageous amount of distribution. You would be really pigeonholing yourself into not having access to your full repertoire. But with the martial powers, there's 5 types of power. There's exploits, there's maneuvers, there's reactions, there's strikes, and there's sustained powers. So coincidentally, there's 5 disciplines of power. There's 5 colors of magic. That all works out super easy. But like the 4 elements, there's only 4 colors there. There's 3 mana. There's 3. There's magic paradigms that only have 3 aspects, which I look at here. Like for example, body, mind, soul. If you wanted to do wedges and shards out of 5 color, you could just pick 3 colors to be your triad. There's also like being cheeky, paper, rock, scissors is a paradigm that you could make up. There's heaven, earth, and hell is a paradigm you could create. You could create a triad between like law, neutral, and chaos, good, neutral, and evil. Those are paradigms that you can set up. You could do something tighter as like light and shadow, or positive and negative energy, truth and lies. There's also, excuse me, I've got a thing going on with my nose here, real quick, off camera. So these different mana paradigms exist. So how do we deal with those? There's 5 disciplines: exploits, maneuvers, reactions, strikes, and sustained powers. So when you choose a tight a tight system like what you see, if you link down below, you'll see a Knights and Tricksters. They either have their primary color and then they have a secondary color, or if you were to use the elemental paradigm, you'd have a primary elemental, a primary element and a secondary element. And so, reading along here, as you can see, when mana is devoted to 2 aspects of magic, such as colors white and red, or the elements fire and earth, select 2 disciplines of power between exploits, maneuvers, reactions, strikes, and sustained powers. These 2 are devoted to 1 aspect of magic, such as red or fire. So like you could have, like, say, exploits, maneuvers are devoted to red, or maneuvers and reactions are devoted to fire, depending on which paradigm you're using. Next, select 2 from the remaining 3 disciplines. Like, say you picked exploits, maneuvers for red, then you could take reactions and strikes as white, if that was the other color that you were working with. The remaining discipline of power is devoted to both aspects. So if I went with exploits, maneuvers as red, and reactions and strikes as white, then sustained would be devoted to both white and red. So you're always dealing with 2 aspects of magic. You're just, hey, let's start that over again. You're choosing out of your paradigm how many of the disciplines of power that you know are you devoting to a specific source. So if it's universal mana, all 5 disciplines can be used with the same color or aspect, because it's just universal mana. There is no distinguishment. You just spend a point and you can use any maneuver. With this duality effect, you can choose any paradigm that you want and then select 1 aspect of that paradigm and another aspect of the paradigm, and those are the only 2 that you're using. So, like, similar in Knights and Tricksters, link below, you can see, like, the majority goes to primary and then the minority goes to your secondary. But with this system, on a short or long rest, you could assign all your mana to primary, all your mana to secondary, or you can distribute between the 2. Like if you got 20 mana, 10 and 10, or 5 and 15, or 1 and 19. And then again, you can swap it. You just take a short rest. You can swap out. If you only have 13 mana left after some adventuring, then you could go, say, 7 and 6, or 3 and 10, whatever. So, precise mana is a different paradigm. Let's see, we've got devoted mana. That's the 3 classifications there: universal points, devoted mana, and then precise mana. If you wanted to go into a triad where, like, if you're devoted to white, blue, and red, then you would take 2, 2, and 1. So you like do 2 devoted to white, 2 devoted to blue, and 1 devoted to red, for instance. You can do that. These are just ideas and ways that you can manipulate how you manage your mana pool and what powers you have tied to the mana in that pool. So precise mana, like I just suggested, in precise mana you could go so far as, like, with 5 colors, 5 disciplines, 1 color per discipline. And in that paradigm, if you're, say, Rakdos, black, red, and you take black as exploits and red as strikes, then you wouldn't have access to maneuvers and reactions to sustained powers at all. You chose those 2, and those are the 2 colors that you have. But like in a Dominaria setting where all 5 colors are available to you, then you could, say, still choose black as exploits, red as strikes, but you could also say white are maneuvers and blue are reactions and green are sustained. And if you're narratively choosing to only know black and red because you're Rakdos, then you would, again, only have access to exploits and strikes in this instance. Although you could technically, on a short rest, devote mana to green so that you'd be able to use sustained powers. You could decide for your Ludo narrative that because I'm Rakdos, I only have those two colors, and these are the two power types I chose for those colors. That's an approach that you can take. But then, whenever you gain a level, you could swap. Well, I'm going to say black now represents sustained, and instead green mana represents exploits. And now you'll be learning only sustained and strike powers, because you can switch out all your powers on when you gain level as well. So you can switch those things out. Your DM could decide that in this campaign, sustained powers are always green and exploits are always white. So the guild the Selesnya Conclave would have access to exploits and sustained powers, while Rakdos being black and red, maybe those are maneuvers and strikes. So Selesnya wouldn't have access to maneuvers or strikes at all. Their whole shtick is they have access to exploits and sustained powers. If that's how your DM and players decide to build the campaign, then whichever guild it is that you're devoted to is going to determine what type of powers you have access to, similar to what types of spells you would have natural access to. You could spend downtime to train, to say make maneuvers devoted to white magic as well. So then Selesnya would, for you, because you spent time researching and training, you would then be able to use exploits maneuvers with white magic and then still sustain powers with green. This is the type of way that a DM can decide what type of how much access to powers you have. Ultimately, I mean, the easiest way to go with the least amount of thinking is just use universal mana, and then you're just describing powers as using fire magic or using blue mana or using the power of light or the power of shadow. It's just narrative. It has the same mechanical impact as saying I'm casting this as illusion magic, for instance, or I am a cleric and I'm using divine magic to cast this spell. The same. There is no further mechanical depth in the game beyond that, so you can mirror that in how you're describing your own use of powers, and it's up to your own internal consistency as a player to be narrating that's how you're doing it. You might have to make hard choices, like I could say I can cast this fireball with red, even though narratively I'm imagining that I'm out of red power right now. I could change that. I could change my mind if I wanted to. If you hard code casting a spell or using powers with a specific mana source, and you literally run out of that mana in your pool until you're able to recover it on a short or long rest, depending on what type of recovery system you're using, then you said that this is a rule that is significant that I have to play by, and when I'm out of red mana, then I can't use anything that requires red mana until I recover it. So some of this is self-imposed, some of this is DM campaign imposed, and those are conversations worth having in a session. But the default is universal mana. All these other layers are things that you can do to make it feel more like an MTG game, or feel like an like a Avatar Bender game, by using the 4 elements and choosing to only know airbending, for example, because you are an airbender. So then it would be a matter of, well, what to... if you're using universal, then all of it's just airbending. But if you want to have hard-coded rules where you can only know 2 disciplines of air, maybe it's maneuvers and reactions are air-based. But then your DM allows you to spend downtime and research how to train understanding additional powers, maybe specific powers, like you train to learn a sustained ability that you can now channel as airbending, while the game may allow like earthbending to automatically have sustained powers. Like that can be a narrative that you can do. So those are the ideas that go into Magic Paradigms. It's as simple, as complicated as you want it to be. The more complicated it gets, the more how you spend mana makes a difference, and you limit what access to powers you have. Like if for example, if your DM is looking at this is like, I really feel like rogues should only have access to, say, exploits, reactions, and sustained powers. Then you could establish that those are the three paradigms you have, and you have universal points, but you don't have access to maneuvers or strikes. Like maybe you'll think that like maybe sustained, strikes, and maneuvers are things that only fighters should have access to, while a barbarian would have access to, say, sustained, strikes, and maneuvers. So you can decide which ones you want to have access to if you want to limit those for yourself. So there's a lot of differences. Like you could say if rogues of this particular, like say Harper rogues can have access, or like the Harpers in general out of Forgotten Realms. The Harpers only have access to exploits, maneuvers, and sustained abilities. Then if you're a fighter, a barbarian, a ranger, a rogue, whatever of the Harpers, then you would have access to those three powers. And if instead you were like, say, a Zentarum, a Zealot, then maybe you only have access to exploits, maneuvers. So you can build into your game campaign what access they have. So that's called completely optional rules to add more mechanical depth. Especially if your table's looking at it as like, these are really cool. I don't want everyone to have access to all of them. These are different approaches to limit access to them for them to be appropriate for the game that you want to run. So, but we play test it so that you have universal mana and access to all powers. If you play test it that way, so you have access to all the kits. If you decide to limit what is available, then you are just intentionally self-nerfing for the sake of the narrative in your game and the mechanics that you want to reflect that narrative. So that's all completely optional. But I think that's all I really need to say about Magic Paradigms for now. It'll obviously be a lot more extensive than this, but this is just the initial notes. Again, this is playtest content. This is perspective, and this is all just narrative or mechanics if you desire. So, having said all that, we're going to take yet another sip of coffee. Like I really need more coffee right now, but here we go. I can feel a little. I can feel some debris separating from my throat chakra, so I can speak more freely and truthfully in the future. So give me another moment to help clear that chakra out. We are now going to flip down and let's dig into the language for martial powers. So our last session we spent on cleaning up the there it is. Last session we spent on exploits, resolving the bifurcation of dice, which is to say, if you're using Adept Craftsman, which is when making an ability check that can use tools you're proficient with, you add one power die per mana channeled. That is when making an ability check. You are like at level 2. It's a D6. You can channel one mana. You roll an extra D6. You add that result to your D20 when you're making an ability check that uses tools that you're proficient with. But say at 10th level, when you have a max amount of 3 mana, you could roll 3d6, but you wouldn't add all those up to your d20 and potentially get a 36 or 38 or whatever on your die roll at 10th level. That's ridiculous. No, instead, what you would do is you take that d8, because at 10th level you get a d8 instead of a d6, 3 mana, d8, 3d8. You'd roll 3d8, and you would take the best of the 3. So, say you roll a 1, a 3, and a 7 on that die. It wouldn't be a plus 11. It would be a plus 7 to your die roll, which stays in curve with Bardic Inspiration. It's actually, I believe, a little slower. I think they have a D10 at that point. But hey, I got someone saying, hey, finally able to make another stream. How's it going? Hey, man, how did it go? It is going fantastic. I am having a long... it's my birthday week, so I'm taking a lot of extra time out of my day to do additional stream content on extended lunches as I please. So I just spent the last 30 minutes talking about martial powers that are going to be in the playtest content that I post on my Patreon for free for people to look at. That'll be later on this week. Last session we went looking at exploits, and this week, these next few weeks, what we're doing is we're cleaning up the language in these powers so they're more digestible for people when they're doing the playtesting. And so we went through the exploits last week, and this week we are going into maneuvers. So we're going to see, there's not a ton of maneuvers, so hopefully it'll be easy for us to get through it. And if time and endurance allows, we're going to go through the reactions and clean up reaction language as well. And then we will probably get back to strikes and sustained powers in the next week or two beyond that. So by the beginning of June, we'll have clean language for all these. But I am planning on posting this document in particular on my Patreon channel. I think what I'll probably end up doing is have the open playtest content be available to anyone for free on my Patreon. But the full document that I have here for martial powers, the like all of it, like all the content I haven't posted yet, all the class stuff, all the stuff about like magic items, artificer, infusions, warlock, invocations, all the additional stuff that's going to be in the book that isn't ready for playtesting quite yet. I'll probably put that behind paid patrons, and as well as other things like the In Command book that I'm working on. But I can actively have like the live document that we're building the full book out of available for paid patrons to see everything, not just the playtest content, but like the full book, everything that I'm working on, a complete under the hood look at where I'm at, comments on the sideline, for you to see where me and Ukulele are moving through, like an In Command, as well as like the Crystals of Mabar adventure that I'm doing. I can have all of the full Google content of the full everything, not just the playtest content available for people to look at. I think that's probably how I'll structure this thing. So anyway, let's see. We are going to maybe $1 to see everything, and like $5 to be added to the commenters, so you can make comments on the document. That might be a really fun way to offer Patreon gifts. But for now, we are looking at maneuvers. So one thing that we looked at last week that is important, the only exploit that exists from the Blood Hunter power conversion that we had done a month or so ago, was Mystic Synergy, which is when you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can make a weapon attack as part of that bonus action. So like, for example, let's look at maneuvers. What does that mean? Make an attack with a weapon you're holding. So using this exploit, which is basically when you use a maneuver down here, you can spend 2 mana, and that allows you to make a weapon attack as part of a bonus action to maneuver. So keep in mind, maneuvers can be used, you can channel maneuvers as an action or as a bonus action. So you could technically use a maneuver, the same maneuver, twice in one during your turn, once as an action and then once again as a bonus action, or 2 separate maneuvers, one as an action, one as a bonus action. This exploit here specifically is creating it's altering the maneuver that you would use if you are channeling it specifically as a bonus action. So when you use not just your action, but when you use your bonus action to channel any of these maneuvers, and again, they can all be channeled as either an action or a bonus action, your choice. And if your choice is to channel it as a bonus action, and again, it'll still cost you anywhere from like 1 to 5 mana to do so, As an additional kicker, you can use the exploit Mystic Synergy, which is you spend your mana to then channel the maneuver as a bonus action. You then channel 2 additional mana, and while you are using your maneuver, you can make an attack. And it doesn't specify that it has to be an attack against whoever is targeted by the maneuver, or that it has to be a specific type of attack. It's an attack. You can make an attack, any target that's viable, just like you would normally make an attack. So, but it costs 2 mana to do that. So check this out. As a maneuver, bonus attack, you can make an attack with a weapon you're holding. So it doesn't specify that you make this attack with a weapon you're holding. It's an action or a bonus action to do so. There's no real... I can't think of anything at all that would make you want to use... You can make an attack, a single attack, as an action under normal circumstances, starting at level 1. Anyone can do it. There is no reason I can think of why you'd want to spend a point of mana to use an action to make an attack with a weapon you're holding when you could do so for free. But under normal circumstances, people can't use a bonus action to make an attack unless you, like, say you're dual wielding, and there's all these caveats and rules that go along with it. Normally that's a class feature. So here the feature is that you can spend 1 mana to make an attack roll as a bonus action. So looking at Bonus Hunter as an exploit, you could, while you're making an attack for 1 mana as a bonus weapon with an attack, you could spend 2 mana and make another bonus action, make another attack as a bonus action. That is effectively paying 3 mana for Flurry of Blows. And that is intentional. This basically gives anybody Flurry of Blows with any weapon that they're holding as... since it's a 2nd level exploit to do that, then we know that you wouldn't be able to do that until 6th level. So at 6th level, you can spend 3 ki to make 2 attacks as a Flurry of Blows using any weapons that you're holding. It's more expensive. It's more liberal in its ruling and advocation. It doesn't require 3 mana. You don't have to be 10th level to do it, because it's an exploit at 2 mana being used on top of a bonus action for 1 mana. So you can do this as soon as 6th level. A monk could do it at 1st level with 1 mana. A fighter or a barbarian could do it at 6th level, and it would cost them 3 mana. You see how this system is letting other martials do stuff that other martial classes can do, but at a far less efficient ability to do so. Let's look down here again at the martial powers, since this is the first one right out of the gate that we're looking at. It's a really fun example of how these things curve together. Looking down here, let's see. What are we looking at? Far shot, deal, phase, right? Oh, yeah. Hold on. Maneuvers. 1, 2, 3. Double strike. Attack twice with advantage. So you can make 2 attacks with a weapon that you're holding at advantage. And so that's 3 mana. You can do that as an attack. Like, for example, you could spend the 3 mana as an attack action. And then as a bonus action, you could spend 6 mana this round making 4 attacks all at advantage. And then on top of that, you could spend 2 additional mana. So you're spending a total of 8 mana this turn to make an extra attack as part of that bonus action double strike. So you spent 3 mana as a double strike as a bonus action. Both of those attacks are an advantage. And then you spend 2 more mana with Mystic Synergy. You can then, as a bonus action, make 3 attacks. And it'll cost you 5 mana to do it. So that is ridiculously expensive. But it is something you can do. You are spending your mana to gain extra attacks. Coincidentally, Steelwind Strike, as a 5th level spell, a 5 mana expenditure, allows you to make 5 attacks in a round. The game has already set the pace that you can make 5 attacks as a 5th level spell, 1 apiece. This is just curving out different ways for you to be able to do that. So, let's see. where are we at? Okay, great. So this one passes. This one passes the synergy test, right? And this is probably one of the more complicated methods going into the Mystic Synergy. But as we have noted here, we have to make sure that every one of these maneuvers works with Mystic Synergy for Mystic Synergy to remain an exploit for you to use. If something inside these maneuvers doesn't work with Mystic Synergy, we have to either look at how is the maneuver structured, or is there something about Mystic Synergy that doesn't work. Mystic Synergy is so simple that it should work. So we're gonna see how that do. We're just gonna continue through these things. We're primarily interested in cleaning up the language on it, and while we're cleaning up the language, looking at what the mechanics of that language infers to, again, make sure nothing is broken. So that's what we're doing today. Or at least that's what we're doing with the rest of our day. So I'm going to take another sip of coffee. Man, let me make sure my screen's good. Cool. Before I dive into this further, just want to remind, link below, all my mana books are 100% free preview. The link gives you a bundle, 35% off all of them. Some of them are pay what you want. You don't have to pay anything for them if you don't want to, but obviously I support it. I appreciate your support and would definitely appreciate it. Like and subscribe, because I do this every Monday, and we're going to keep doing it until the book is done. We're just moving through pieces of it at a time. This month we're going to have this playtest open for anybody who wants to spend through my Patreon and pick it up for free to play with it, and getting feedback from you would be amazing. I have a 15th level team right now with an Arcane Trickster and a Ranger that utilize these martial powers, and I love it. I mean, I'm a DM, and I'm a DM that builds player tools, because these are the tools that I want my players to have access to. I think it would be cool if your team could do these things. As a DM, all this stuff is welcome at my table. Of course, I built it. So I think there's a big difference between players and DMs that build content. Like, players build things that they want to play, while DMs build things that they want to DM for. And I think that's powerful. If your DM is allowing the tools that they build at their own table, at their own game, then they're having a constant playtest. That's why I'm having these updates going through on the mana mechanics that we have posted below. I'll have in the zip file with all the mana tokens and all the spell lists that you can edit. I'll include the legacy version, the original first edition of the core mechanics, but I will be updating it with all the lessons that I've learned over the past 3 years using these mechanics in my own game. I've seen how it works, where it doesn't, how much is it actually asking of the DM that needs to be streamlined and fixed. So it's a living document as a PDF. You can continue making changes on it, which is really exciting. I love that I can make those updates and just provide a better ideas to you over time. Hey, how did it go? What you got going on? Definitely like the mechanics going on here. Thanks. As one of these rare people who prefer casting spells as a paladin instead of smite, I appreciate the powers going on here. Fantastic. I will definitely make sure I get the paladin stuff up here for you to take a look at once the document goes live. But yeah, paladin doesn't have a whole bunch of if your game is going to allow you to mix powers and spells together, then obviously all the strikes that we have down here are mechanically superior to what the smite spells are inside the game. And arguably the divine smite system that I have built here is going to serve paladins better than the divine smite as listed. But yeah, these are all things that you can mix in. You could still pick up Revivify, and then on top of it you could have like reactive jaunt or off balance or countering attack. I'm also looking at the social and exploration pillar, looking at old psionic abilities as well as various spells that allow you to manipulate reactions, NPC dispositions, friend type effects that you'd be able to ping and keep active as a maneuver or even as a reaction in a conversation, which is not combat based at all. But is almost like a psionic light system that you could, or LIGHT, or like psionic redux that you could use these powers to curve into spaces that lie somewhere in between ability checks and spell casting. Like spell casting is like on and off. Like they're either your friend or they're not. But like a power you could use is like I spend a point as a maneuver that while I'm talking to you, your disposition shifts one towards friendly while we're maintaining a conversation. When that conversation ends, that effect drops and you go back to your default level of disposition, for example. That's a really fun way that you can engage in these things. So hey, more commentary here. What up? Paladins have always been my favorite class. Yeah, they're really cool. But it feels limited to an odd niche space sometimes. I think the maneuvers would help make a more dynamic turn in combat, and social mechanics are also great. That's all we're trying to do here. We're trying to create options that create new things that spellcasters can't do. So some of these things are as powerful as spellcasting. A lot of it is, augmenting combat stuff, but also a lot of exploration pillar. And then again, we're going to be curving into the social mechanics as well, which I think is going to make for a really well-rounded kit. Like you don't have to have weapons at all to be using maneuvers and reactions and exploits, especially exploits and sustained powers. A lot of them are dealing with weapon stuff, but so much of it doesn't have to have you being armed at all. You could stow your weapons and your armor and still have a huge litany of abilities that you can use in town during these different... Anyway, I'm geeking out at this point, so I need to stay on task. This is what happens when I have an unlimited time frame. I can just ramble about stuff. So we're just gonna ramble on and sing our song. Okay, actually getting into maneuvers now. Staying on path with what we actually said we would do. Bonus action, we covered that. Bonus attack, coordinated attack. Keep in mind, some of these things are literally maneuvers from the Battle Master list, but instead of just being you spend a superiority die, it attaches a mana cost, and that mana cost grants superiority dice. So in the Battle Master system, you never have more than one. I don't think there's any maneuvers that allow you to spend more than one superiority die at a time to get effects. But as we've discussed before, with bifurcating dice where you could roll multiple dice and just take the best one, maneuver dice could do that as well. Battle Master's maneuver superiority dice could do that as well. And we will have comments in here. Actually, I better put a note here to make sure I have that conversation. Let's get down here. Fey Wanderer, Gloomhunter, Swarmkeeper, channeling martial powers. I'm going to put a big asterisk here in the overall play test document is make sure to have a conversation in the power campaign section about allowing superiority dice be used the same way as exploits and maneuvers, allowing for multiple dice pick best. So the superiority dice, you only, I think, get up to 6 on a short rest, but still 6 on a short rest. If you've got 5 dice and you really want to make sure you nail this thing, you could dump 4 dice into it and roll your 40-10 and take your best, like a 1, a 1, and a 3, and a 10. Awesome. That 4th was definitely worth it. I'll take the 10 and add 10 to my die roll. That's something that the game already expects you to be able to do, to be able to roll that D10 or the D12. And that's, again, rambling on here, but I think that's what really is the trick about exploits and maneuvers and these things, is that they're all putting damage caps inside of what the game already allows. Superiority dice go up to D12s, but the martial power system only goes up to D10s. But you can roll multiple D10s together to push yourself towards 10 instead of being left with a single point to have a range of 1 to 10. You could have 3 dice that will most likely get you 6 or above, which is different from superiority dice, which is when you roll your D12. It could be anywhere from 1 to 12. There's a lot of spike in there. So the mana that we're spending is allowing us to tighten the bandwidth that you're spending on these. That's not the right term. To control to control the spikiness of how effective or ineffective it was. You can commit as much mana as you want to help make sure that you're sticking the landing. Hey, Chronix, good to see you too, man. I'm glad you're here. Okay, great. So, coordinated attack. You can empower a target ally within 30 feet to use a reaction to make an attack with +1 PD to the hit and damage versus a target you and your ally can both see. So, what does that tell us? It says if your allies within 30 feet, you can both see a target. You can use your coordinated attack, and again, maneuvers can be either an action or a bonus action or both. You can empower a target ally to use their reaction to make an attack against the target you both can see, and they will gain a plus power die to their hit and their damage. So, I think, okay, so this is a coordinated attack. And again, if we're using Mystic Synergy, so you spend 1 point to create the coordinated attack, and let's say we're using a bonus action for the coordinated attack. If you're using Mystic Synergy, you're spending the 1 point as maneuver and 2 points as an exploit. So while you're performing the coordinated attack, you can also make an attack roll as part of the bonus action. It doesn't specify that you have to make the attack roll to the target that's being hit here. You could have one guy over there that you are using coordinated attack with, and then on top of it, you're using exploit. You can hit a guy that's right next to you right here. Or maybe it's an ally that's next to him at range, and so you take a pop shot, and then your coordinated attack lets your ally hit the guy next to him, and because of it, he's going to get a plus power die to it. And so at second level, when you have access to first level powers, that would be a D6. The only question that comes up that we really need to worry about is, let's say at 18th level, you're an 18th level fighter, and your friend is an 18th level ranger, and you're both using martial powers. You're both rolling D10 power dice, and in this instance, you're spending 1 mana to grant a plus 1 PD. See, this doesn't say that it scales up. It doesn't say 1 PD per mana. It says 1 PD. So if you spend 2 mana on this, you wouldn't. Because there wouldn't be any point. Because you can't add scaling PD. You can't add additional power dice of damage or to hit. So you have a hard cap there. If, like, say, I'm a fighter and I'm granting my ranger coordinated attack, hit that guy over there with your reaction. Ranger says, okay, Ranger's using martial powers. Ranger has access to strikes. A ranger at 18th level can put 5 mana into a strike, and those are going to be D10 die rolls. So you're going to potentially throw 5d10 and add those up, but this also gives you an extra +1 power die. So that ranger wouldn't roll 5d10, he would roll 6d10. So he would be rolling beyond his normal power limits of what he would be able to do in damage. But we know from one of the earlier conversations when I was talking about paladins, a paladin adds 1 die roll to his power die. So if a paladin were to do a strike using 5th level, which is a max, which is 5d10, paladin's special feature is that he gets to add an additional die to that attack. So he would cap at 6d10, which is pretty comparable to the 7d8 that a 17th level paladin would be able to use on a divine strike. So the 5d8 versus 7d8 versus 6d10, there's only a difference of 4 there. It's pretty comparable. It helps make up for them using only a d6 at second level instead of a D8, like the the player handbook says. You get more mana at second level, and at the end you're going to have a little bit more damage as well. So in the end, it carries out. But I guess Paladin's a better example, because the Paladin would have Smite. He'd be doing 6d10 damage, and using coordinated attack, he would be dealing an additional d10. So he'd be dealing 7d10 instead of 6d10. That's going to eat up your friend's action economy as well. So I'm going to look up I was going to look up D&D Beyond. And I want to look at the fighter real quick to get into Battle Master. So let's go to fighter and class, and then let's tool down to the Battle Master. Battle Master. Now let's look at maneuvers. Commanders, commanding, presence, disarming, distracting, evasive, foot, grinding, grappling, lounging, maneuvering, attack. When you hit a creature, you can expand, you add a superiority die, parry, precision attack. Say maneuvering attack, add superiority die to damage roll, and you choose a friendly creature you can see. The creature can use its reaction, move up to its half its speed. Okay, so we're seeing here that a third level fighter, 17th level paladin would be able to do 78 damage worth of smite and add a D8 superiority die to his own attack. So the game itself is already allowing us to do up to 64 damage. So that's a little less than the 70 damage that we would gain out of powers, but it does jive. So everything's fine here. So that one clears. Do I like the language? You can empower a target ally within 30 feet to use a reaction. To use their reaction to make an attack with +1 PD to hit and damage versus a target you and ally can both see. I'm good with that for now. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If that doesn't make sense, guys, let me know. Let me know in the comments if that doesn't seem clear. You and your ally there. If that isn't clear enough for you to play test it, let me know, and we can hem and haw over what's missing there that needs to be cleaned up. But again, I'm going to hire a writer to clean this up, and I'm going to hire an editor to double check their work. So there's going to be plenty of redundancy built in to make sure that the language reads clean. My job is to ideate, develop it to a point where it makes sense, and then hand it off to a writer, who would then hand it off to an editor, who then hands it back to the writer to clean up what the edits were, to then hand back to me, at which point, restart that. Once it goes through my writer to the editor, back to the writer, back to the editor, it then comes back to me. I then do the page layouts, and then I see where in the layouts there's holes, and I then go in and I put artwork inside of the hollow spaces inside of the document. So I do ideation, development, development, layout, artwork, and of course I stream all this stuff. So once this book is done with its ideation phase and it gets handed off to writing and editing, when it comes back, we're probably going to see me doing artwork for the Martial Powers book. We'll see me doing the layouts and the artwork for the Martial Powers book on Mondays from there. And of course, I'll have like bedtime stream on Wednesday night at 10 o'clock till midnight. I'll be doing 2 hours worth of artwork there, or 2 hours. You know, this is going to cycle in with other books. So that's the process. So okay, great. So mobility costs you a point. Dash, disengage, or dodge. Great. I don't see any problem with that. It costs you a point, which is pretty comparable to the Step of the Wind and what is it? Unarmed defense or whatever it is that the monk's thing is. That basically lets you buy into that stuff too. So it's the same difference. It's just you get to pick one of the three things. And again, it wouldn't make any sense for you to use mobility as an action because you can already do these things as actions at no cost. It's just that doing them as bonus actions are gated behind different class features. Either like a rogue would do it for free. It's like, but a rogue can't dodge for free. So like it would make sense for a rogue to pick up mobility. It would make sense for a monk to pick up mobility because, well, maybe it wouldn't because he already gets all the features already baked in as mana costs. So it would definitely make sense for a rogue to be able to pick this up for dodge. It would definitely make sense for a ranger or a barbarian or a paladin or a fighter to pick this up because they don't have access to that shit at all. So that's a great spend. And again, as mobility, you can doing the Mystic Synergy test, you could use a bonus action to pick up mobility. You would then be able to use dash as your action, and during your action, When you use a bonus action in Channel Mentor, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. So using mobility, you can pop that point for 1, gain dash, run up to somebody, and like if we're talking about a monk here, you could then use Mystic Synergy as part of the dash, spend 2 mana to then be able to pop an attack as a bonus action, and then you would be able to use Stunning Strike as another mana spend. So you spend 1 point for mobility, 2 points for Mystic Surge, and then a point for Stunning Strike. You can spend 4 mana, that one bonus action, for you to truck up, hit, stun, and then use the rest of your bonus action to step away from. That's great. It's expensive as all get out, but you can do it. So that's great. Sorry, I'm geeking out on myself again here. So Rally, you or or an ally you can see, full stop, as long as you can just see them. Gain temporary hit points equal to +1 PD per mana. Okay, temporary hit points, to remind you, temporary hit points are overlap other temporary hit points. So as a first level power at second level, this is going to add up to D6 temporary mana as a one-time thing. Once they're gone, right? At 18th level, that power die is a 10. So you could roll a D10. For 1 mana, you could roll D10, and they will gain up to 10 mana. But it's per mana spend. So at 18th level, you could spend 5 mana and get +1 PD per mana. That is, it doesn't say that it's overlapping. It's not something that modifies a D20 die roll. It's just added. So that means it acts like a strike. That's cumulative. So you would throw 5d10 as a 5th level power. That's how much temporary hit points you'll get. Let's go look at I think False Life. False Life 5e. False Life is comparable. So let's go to D20 and look at False Life. Bolstering yourself with necrotic facsimile of life, you gain 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points for the duration as a first level spell. At higher levels, when you cast this spell using a second level spell slot or higher, you gain 5 additional temporary hit points for each spell slot above first. So, assuming a average die roll is a 2, that's 6 at first, 6, and then you have up to 5 is plus 5. That's going to be 31. So it's going to be for 5 mana, cast as a False Life 5th level spell, it's going to give you 31 mana. On average, 5 mana, that is going to be 27.5 on average, but could spike all the way up to 50 or could shit all the way down to 5. So you'll have a span of 5 to 50, averaging 27.5. On the average, it's going to be less than what False Life can give you for the same amount of slots, but using the spikiness of martial powers, power dice, it could be better. It could be significantly worse. And because it's temporary hit points, if you rolled 50 hit point, if you roll a 50 on one use of it, and say you whittle it down to 46, and you decide to spend 5 mana again, you could only get a roll of 5. And because 5 is less than 46, you would waste that mana. It has absolutely no effect whatsoever, because the amount that you would gain is not superior to the amount rolled. You could theoretically, I think some paladins might have that on their spell list. It'd be awesome if they did, but if they didn't, let's say we made up one that does. So okay, great. So False Life is a paladin spell. You could spend 5 mana as a 5th level spell to automatically get 31, and by the time that whittles down to, like, say 10, you could then spend on the you could then go back to the rally maneuver and spend 4 mana on rally and roll 40-10 and potentially get better than the 10 points you have left, and you didn't have to spend as many points. So that's how rally works. And again, You or an ally you can see gain temporary hit points equal to 1 plus 1 PD per mana. And then the Mystic Synergy test, you can, on top of that, spend 2 mana to make an attack with a weapon as part of that bonus action. Now, keep in mind, as an action, you could use Rally to target yourself. And then as a bonus action, you could use Rally to target an ally. And then use Mystic Synergy to give yourself an attack along with it. So there's a ton of value there. These things are expensive to use, but God, the flexibility is great. I'm really happy with that. Swift Resuscitation. You can make a Wisdom Medicine check at advantage to stabilize a dying creature. I believe you can use the Medicine check to stabilize. I don't think you have to make a Wisdom check at all to stabilize a creature. So, if I'm not mistaken, you can make. If that's not true, do let me know. Comment or drop in the chat if one of you guys know that you actually have to make a die roll of some sort to stabilize a dying creature, let me know. But normally that's an action with the medicine skill. But again, maneuvers can be either be actions or bonus actions. And then on top of it, you can use Mystic Synergy. So you stabilize your friend and you spend the extra 2 mana. While you're stabilizing them, you can make an attack on somebody. That's fantastic. That works. Overrun. Okay, so move up to your speed, gain dodge, move through space. Move up to your speed. You can move up to your speed through spaces occupied by creatures see, you can move up to your speed and move through space occupied by creatures. Creatures move through take 1 power die per mana of damage. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, you instead end your turn in the most recent unoccupied space that you moved through during your turn without dealing any damage. Holy biscuits. Okay, great. So this allows you to move your speed as an action. You can move up to your speed. Yeah, I had dodge there, but I just got rid of it because that was too much. That was too much efficiency for 1 mana. This does let you scale up to 5 mana, and so as a move speed, you move through space and move through spaces occupied by creatures. So if you've got a 40-foot movement and there's 6 people on the 6 enemies on the battlefield that you want to attack, oh my god, that's ridiculous. You can move up to your speed and move through spaces occupied by creatures. As written, that would let you move through 6 creatures, dealing 5d10 damage per creature that you move through. That is a ridiculous amount of value, and there's no saving throw. It's kind of like Azabran's Scorching, Scorching Steps or whatever that new Fizzband spell is. It has that kind of feel to it, but this is way, way more powerful. Let's put that to the test. Let's see if that's true. Abnazar, is that who it is? What is that thing called? Hold on. Let me take a quick look here. See if I can get spell lists to pop up for us here in a moment. Thank you. Let's go to all spells. I believe that's a second. Yeah. Is that what we're looking at here? Higher levels when you spend a spell, so level of damage increases. Let's see. Flames 30 feet long, 5 feet wide, emanates from you in a direction you choose. Any creature in the line must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature takes 3d8 fire damage on a failed save as a second level spell. Third level spell, d8 for each spell slot above, so it'd be 48 at 5th level. No, it'd be 48 at 4th level. Okay, that jives. 48, That's a 30-foot line, 5 foot wide. This is allowing you to maneuver through those. So 5th level would be 5d8. It'd be 6d8 as a 6th level spell. This paces differently. Okay, so I think what we need to do... Was there another... Let's look at... here we're going to do F. That is not what we were trying to do. Let's do this instead. I am looking for the Frost Maiden. There we go. There we go. Mischief, and then find next. Rhymes, Binding Ice. Next is... That's what it is. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you. Shadowland Stride. Let's see how this guy do. Shadowland Stride is 3rd level as a duration. Okay, so the billowing flames of a dragon's blast from your feet, igniting your granting you explosive speed. For the duration, granting you exploding speed. For the duration, your speed. By the way, since we're going through this spell, this spreadsheet that I have, all the spells and like all the Ravnica spells and Strixhaven, Artificer spells, Druid spells, blah, 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 Way of the Four Elements. This is all provided with the books that you buy down below. They're not part of the free preview, but if you purchase them, then you get this full spreadsheet broken down by color and school and spell, or rather books and... all PH spells, these are just the spells on the PH. But then, here's all spells, period. You can see that it lists what books they're in, and then, of course, what color they're devoted to, whether they're white, blue, black, red, or green. And it's got concentration versus immediate. Persistent is something that's described in the core book, which is basically it lasts 24 hours. So all that stuff is available in the core book that is linked down below. So let's see. We're looking at Shadowland Stride. How does it work? Building flames, blah, blah, blah. Your speed increases by 20 feet, and moving doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Okay. When you move within 5 feet of a creature or an object that isn't being worn or carried, it takes d6 fire damage from the trail at your feet. A creature or object can take this damage only once during a turn. That's a really good point. So when you cast this spell using a spell slot of 4th level or higher, increase your speed by 5 feet for each spell slot above 3rd. The damage increases an additional d8 fire damage for each spell slot above 3rd. So 5th would be 3d8, 3d6. Considerable difference here. Let's see how they're working that out. It takes d6 fire damage from your trail of heat. Okay, so we should change that. This is feeling excessively strong. So let's reduce this down to... Type of mana. Let's look at the DMsGuild real quick here to talk about type of damage. DMsGuild. Let's go to the revised color spell list, which is free to view here on DMsGuild. If you're on mobile, you'll see an eyeball over here, but here on live, here's the full spell list. Here's the full product available. This is only going through Player's Handbook spells. Again, you can buy this in the bundle, and you'll get access to all the spells. But here you can see how damage is broken down by color type. So you can see that, like, for example, if you were to spend... In this example, we're looking at Overrun, which is +1 power die per mana of damage, which is either going to be weapon or type of mana. And so that, like, say if you spent black mana to activate Overrun, you could either deal acid damage, necrotic damage, poison damage, or psychic damage. Or if you're, like, wielding a hammer, bludgeoning damage. So those would be the 5 types of damage that you would be able to deal if you use black mana to use Overrun. Hey man, how you doing? Welcome to the mix. Aroligo Benaro David. Hey, I think I murdered your name, David. I'm just gonna call you David because that's because I'm not so good with wording sometimes. But thanks for checking this stuff out. So Overrun. This is way more superior than a Shadowland Strike. So that probably means we need to curb this thing somehow. How are we going to curb this? You can move your... If we were to put this in line with a Shadowlands, then it would be 1 power die of damage. But a Shadowland gets stronger over time. So granted, a ranger that could gain access to this would be able to put up to 5 mana into it, which would mean, according to a Shadowlands, that would be a maximum of 3d6 damage, no save or reduction at all. So let's see. Oh, that's my timer. Let's go ahead and renew it so we can stay on path. So I probably got another hour or so I can do on this, and honestly, the way that I'm rambling, I'll probably need it. But so let's see. If we were to put this at 1 power die of damage, it's only a 1 mana maneuver. So that puts us well in line, because this is going to scale up to a D10 at 18th level. It starts off as a D6. By the time a ranger would actually normally get this, it would be a D8 instead of a D6 for him. There's more damage types that you could do. You move up to your speed and move through spaces occupied by creatures. Creatures move through this way. I don't know if this way is necessary, but I'm going to add it for now. Move through this way, take 1 power die of damage. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, you instead end your turn in the most recent unoccupied space that you move through during your turn without dealing any damage to the creature. Creatures can only be damaged this way once during Is that how the language works for Shadowland? Hey man, if you got any questions, be welcome to ask. But I'm just kind of building out these powers to make sure they make sense for the playtest that's coming up. So, and I'll provide a link. Like, subscribe, and stuff, and check out Twitter down below, and you'll get a link to the playtest content once it goes live. Hopefully later on this week. Let's see. Power actions granting for duration. Your speed increases. Doesn't provoke that. We took away increased speed. We took away provoking opportunity attacks. When you do, a creature or object can take this damage only once during a turn. Aha! Only once during a turn. Creatures can only take damage this way once during a turn. Once during a turn. If you end your turn in a space occupied by a creature. Let's see. Turn through this way. takes 1 PD if you end your turn in a space occupied. Okay, so this locks it in as a pretty low. I feel like Overrun should be something that scales up over time. You know, I'm just going to leave it like that for now. +1 power die. Takes 1 power die of damage. Yep. That eliminates the reason for you to spend more. Okay, so let's check the Mystic Synergy thing here. Overrun, you may move up to your speed and move through spaces occupied by creatures. So the bonus action is granting us movement, which we deal damage to creatures when we do so. This is also more friendly fire because it's not going to damage allies that you move past. Like a Shadowland Stride. Is that what the stupid thing's called? A Shadowland Stride. It damages any creature that's within 5 feet of you when you move. Right? So this Overrun, you can run past allies without damaging them. And if you run through an enemy's space, that's when they take the damage, moving through their space. And you move through their... And you can move up to your speed and... can move through spaces occupied by creatures. The creatures can still make opportunity attacks against you. And so there's a risk involved with that. But you deal damage automatically to them when you do. So that feels pretty fair. I think I'm just going to let that sit like that. I'm pretty good with that. Now, doing the Mystic Synergy test. Mystic Synergy is when you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. Granted, you can use Overrun as an action and a bonus action, so you can do it twice per round, but that's still during your turn, so you wouldn't be able to deal damage to the same creature twice during the turn, even though you use a reaction and a bonus action. You would just be able to go more movement. So you'd be able to action move and deal damage, deal your normal movement, no damage, and then deal bonus action, use bonus action to move and deal damage. So 2 out of those 3 action sequences, you would be able to move through targets and deal damage to them. And then using the Mystic Synergy, you would be able to spend an additional 2 mana to deal to make an attack during that Overrun process. So I think I'm pretty happy with that as it is. I don't think that needs to have scaling damage. Good. So that passes. Vanish. You become invisible until the beginning of your next turn. This is a fun interaction because you become invisible until the beginning of your next turn. It doesn't get disrupted by making an attack. It doesn't have its duration is finite, so it's not a concentration effect that can be disrupted like invisibility can as a 2nd level spell. This is actually super freaking useful as a first rank power that you can get access to at 2nd level, or I mean like a rogue would get it at 3rd level because of subclasses. But regardless, that's super sick. You become invisible as you could do this as a bonus action or as an action, but it's yourself only. You become invisible until the beginning of your next turn. So you could, as a bonus action first, spend 1 point and then make your normal actions as attacks, and you remain invisible until the beginning of your next turn. So making attacks would not be modified, would not end this invisibility. Whew, that's super useful. This is basically rogue gains sneak attack as a point of mana. So I mean, it's basically casting a 1st level spell to give yourself advantage, but you also have the benefit of being invisible. That's really good. You could then spend the 2 extra mana using Mystic Synergy that as part of turning invisible, you make an attack. So that's 3 mana, and then you could spend your action at no cost just making an attack. So, man, that's not bad. That is not bad. Let's see. So yeah, I think that passes the test, and I'm really happy. Wow, that's awesome. I'm happy with that. Let's see. Goad, 2nd level. Target creature that you share line of sight with. Let's see. That you share line of sight with. That makes sense. That means I see you, you see me. And can hear you is at disadvantage or attacks not against you until it succeeds. Okay, let's make that make sense. Target creature that you share a line of sight with and can hear you is at disadvantage on attacks, not against you. Is at disadvantage against. Is at disadvantage. Can hear you. Makes attacks with disadvantage. Target creature you share line of sight with and can hear you makes attacks against creatures other than you. Makes attacks against creatures other than you with disadvantage. Until it succeeds a wisdom saving throw at the end. Okay, until it with you other than you with a disadvantage until it succeeds in until it succeeds an attack roll against succeeds until it succeeds in hitting you or succeeds a wisdom saving throw at the end of its turn. Use a reaction to impose minus PD to hit. I think I have that built out as a different reaction. But I'm going to tool down here to reactions and drop it in here as something to consider. Goad. Target creature that you share line of sight with and can hear you. That you share line of sight with and can hear you makes attacks against creatures other than you with disadvantage until it succeeds in hitting you or succeeds a wisdom saving throw at the end of its turn. Okay, so we already know that you can use maneuvers as both actions and reactions. As actions and bonus actions. So you could do this twice, targeting two different creatures. In addition, it doesn't have concentration, nor does it have a predefined endpoint. It simply persists until the creature is capable of succeeding a saving throw to end the effect at the end of each of its turns, or it hits you because it's not attacking somebody else. So you could potentially use this action, bonus action, first round, action, bonus action, second round. Over the course of 2 rounds, you could stack this effect onto 4 different creatures if you're willing to spend 4 mana to do so, which is expensive to do. But you can do it. Mystic Synergy Test. Goading a creature doing this within line of sight of you, and you can make an attack roll at an extra 2 cost. Granted, now keep in mind, Goad costs 2 mana to use. So it would cost 8 mana, 2 per creature. So 2 for the first creature, 2 for the bonus action, 2 for the third creature next round. Total of 8 for all 4 of them. Mystic Surge costs 2 as well. So this exploit, Goad, you goad a creature and you spend an extra 2 mana to be able to make a bonus action attack during that bonus action. That is crazy expensive, but you can do it. And depending on circumstances, super worth it. Especially if they have like a sneak attack effect or something going on. This would effectively eliminate their ability to gain advantage on the attack, like through flanking and stuff like that, and potentially nix their ability to sneak attack you. So it certainly has its values, not only just to make you a more desirable target to attack. Okay, so back into it. Phase. You become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn, and then use solid object caveats. Let's go find some solid caveats. Let's go to, Shade. Shadow. Let's go to Shadow. I think shadows are incorporeal. Let's confirm that's true. Why would it not? Why would you suggest it if it's not here? Oh my god. Shadow. How about that? You gonna give me that? Stupid. Anyway. All right, so let's see. Shadow. Incorporeality. Dark disposition. No, it doesn't have an incorporeality. Maybe it's a shade? Is that a thing? Let's go. Spectre. Spectres have incorporeality. Boy, what a challenge today. Incorporeal movement. The Spectre can move through other objects and creatures as if it were difficult terrain. Okay. Let's see. So phase. You can become incorporeal until the beginning of the next turn. You can... How's that word? You can move through... I'm just going to cut. And then we're going to open up our notepad here. All cut equals back. Period. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. You can become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. Period. And let's steal some Overrun language. Copy. Paste. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature or object, you instead end your turn in the most recent unoccupied space that you moved through during your turn. Period. And you become incorporeal. How does that interact with weapons? So doing the Mystic Synergy check, you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver. You can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. Let's go to... Is it till the end of your turn? What? How do we have that written? You become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. Oh, man. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were terrain. Period. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, second level turn. Here we go. Any attacks you make while any attacks you make during phase are force damage. I need to do some quick research here. 5e, attacking incorporeal. Let's see if there's a decent conversation in D&D Beyond about incorporeality. Incorporeal subtype description directly quoted from Monster Manual 4. Some monsters are, however, of the subtype, though they are not directly referenced. Trying to convert the Joy Stealer. Believe it or not, I couldn't find Joy Stealer anywhere in Homebrew. So let's see. Harmed only by incorporeal. Okay. Let's see. Some creatures are incorporeal by nature, while others, such as those that become ghosts, can acquire the incorporeal subtype. An incorporeal creature has no physical body. It can be harmed only by other incorporeal creatures, magic weapons, or creatures that strike as magic weapons, and spells, spell-like abilities, and supernatural. This is 3rd edition, so that's only so useful. The blank can move other creatures. It takes force damage within its turn. Also, fake creatures are their own type in 5e, not a subtype, by the way. Homebrewed monsters, blah, blah, blah. Thought incorporeal needed a subtype or tag. It's just one good way of looking at dice. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks, I had to type, blah, blah, blah. This is not useful. So let's go back to... So I'm sitting here doing a bit of research to create a one-shot campaign, coworkers, and cross specter, cool critter, trying to understand, looking at the stat block, among other things, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm not questioning whether it should be invulnerable instead of just resistant to melee attack. My question is, how would I narrate such an attack on an incorporeal creature? Ooh, boy, okay. So if you're looking for other cinematic effects, any ghosts could cause their form to be disrupted momentarily. I see what's happening here. So incorporeality doesn't have any inherent traits. So let's look up 5e incorporeal. Yeah, let's just look at Ghost. Etherealness, enters the ethereal plane, material plane, vice versa, horrifying visage, possession. Enters the ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa. It is visible on the material plane while it is on board ethereal and vice versa. Yet it can't be affected or unaffected by anything on the other plane. Horrifying visage. Each non-undead. Incorporeal movement. Thank you. Yeah, I hear you. Just thank you. Jeez, crew. Etherealness, incorporeal movement. The ghost can move through any creatures and objects as they wish. Difficult terrain. Etherealness. The ghost enters the ethereal plane from material or vice versa. It is visible on the material plane while it is in the border ethereal and vice versa, yet it can't affect or be affected by anything on the other plane. So it can drop out of etherealness into incorporeality. So while it's ethereal, it can pass through walls, no damage. If it drops back into reality, it has incorporeal movement, ethereal sight, horrifying visage, possession. This means that it is relying on its immunities and condition immunities, damage resistances, but it can't be affected by any of that stuff while that's on the ethereal. Okay, so if you're going to make something incorporeal, you have to define in the incorporeality. You are not by default immune or resistant to any effects while incorporeal. It is unto itself. It does nothing to help you with resistance. It doesn't do anything to prevent you from taking damage. In this instance, it simply allows you to move through objects and creatures. Okay, so that's really easy. And it also doesn't say that you can't make attacks either. So this is just simply letting you pass through things. You can move through objects and creatures. Okay, so you could use a bonus action to become, to phase. You then use your movement to move through something. You can then use your action to dash to further move through something. So using this, using phase, 2nd level, 6th level spell, you can effectively walk through 60 feet worth of wall. 6th level as a spellcaster is a 3rd level spell. Let's go visit our all spells, 3rd level spell list to see if there's anything that is comparable. Okay, great. Let's go look at Blink. Does Blink allow you to do the same thing? Blink. Blink equals spell. Roll d20 at the end of each of your turns. The duration of the spell, you roll 11 or higher. You vanish from your current plane of existence, appear on the ethereal plane. At the start of your next turn, and when the spell ends, if you are on the ethereal plane, you return to an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of the space you vanished from. While on the ethereal plane, you can see and hear the plane you originated from, which is cast in shades of gray, and you can see anything, and you can't see anything more than 60 feet away. You can only affect and be affected by other creatures on the ethereal plane. Creatures that aren't there can't perceive you or interact with you unless they have the ability to do so. Okay. This does not require concentration. So Blink, if you become incorporeal, you can also move up to 60 feet through a solid wall as a 3rd level spell, available as 5th level. It's a blind jump, but you can absolutely do it. So you can ethereal your way through a wall. You can't see through the wall. Okay, great. So that jives. There's no problems here. Yeah, man, I'm hip to that. That's cool. Pack tactics. Okay, great. Pack tactics. Make an attack. Make an attack. Allies gain advantage and PD to hit that target until... Make an attack. Oh. Make an attack roll against a creature you can see. Other creatures gain advantage. Other creatures gain advantage and plus PD to hit that target until I don't need to add damage dice to that. Advantage to hit that target until the end of your next turn. That's well, it is 2 mana, so it's expensive. But it's all creatures. I think that's pretty worth. I think there's value there. Let's look at first rank coordinated attack, which is you can empower ally within 20 feet to use their reaction to make an attack. You're granting somebody an extra attack using coordinated attack. Using pack tactics, you're using either an action or a bonus action against a creature you can see. Make an attack roll against a creature you can see, and other creatures gain advantage to hit that target until your next turn. Okay, great. So using this pack tactics, you make an attack against a creature you can see. Other creatures gain advantage to hit that creature. So you're making an attack. It costs 2 mana. Using the Mystic Synergy, you can make a second attack. When you make an attack roll, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. Nothing here says that it has to be a different creature. That is contrasting, though. Make an attack roll against a creature you can see. Other creatures gain advantage to hit that target. Okay, other creatures, right. So that's not you specifically. Other creatures. Is that clean? Does that make sense? If anyone in chat, take a look at it. Does that make sense? That saying that other creatures gain advantage to hit that target until the end of your next turn? It's pretty clear that it doesn't mean you specifically. That it's other creatures. Moving on. So, okay, while grappling, creature dex or strength save. While grappling, you can force a grappled creature to make a strength or dexterity saving throw. If the save succeeds, if the save succeeds, the creature takes 2 power dice of damage, either weapon or mana. If the save fails, the creature takes 1 PD of damage instead and is restrained until the creature can succeed a strength or dexterity saving throw at the end of each of its turns. If the effect ends early, if the is restrained until the creature succeeds a strength or dexterity saving throw at the end of each of its turns, or the grapple ends. So instead of so you can make your saving throw to try to get out of it at the end of your turn, or you can use your action to break the grapple. Restraining hold is absolutely something that that creatures can make use of. All these martial powers are things that a DM can give to creatures as legendary actions or bonus actions or whatever you want to do. DMs are free to use all these powers to add to their creature, or you can chain things together. Like you could use incorporeality and overrun together if you wanted to. So I mean that's perfectly viable. So these things can all be used against players just as much as players can use them against creatures. So Swift Attunement. Use an object interaction to attune to a magic item you're holding. So instead of taking an hour, you spend 2 mana to immediately attune to that object as an object interaction. Doesn't it? See, okay, so it says as an object interaction to attune to a magic item. So this passes the Mystic Synergy test because this is, wow, that's a good point. This isn't an action or a bonus action. It is instead, so is it properly labeled? Actually, I think Swift Attunement is an exploit, not a power, not a maneuver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, and 1. So we're going to move Swift Attunement down into the exploits area. So 2 mana, yeah. Swift Tools, Swift Attunement. If using a tool that you can hold in one hand would normally require an action, you can instead use the tool as an object interaction. That shouldn't cost 2. That feels like it should cost 1. Let's do that. Cool. Okay, easy fix. Back into maneuvers. That's all the ones we had for generic. We have more maneuvers down here under Blood Hunter, which we will get to in a moment. But we're just going through things as they go. Okay, great. So 3 mana, double strike, attack twice with advantage. So this could be done as an action or as a bonus action. Obviously, as a bonus action, it's effectively like a superior form of flurry of attacks, and of course, a monk could take this as a power to gain double strike to make attacks attack twice with advantage. Yeah, geez, it doesn't even. Let's see, make 2 weapon attacks with advantage. That's better language. Make 2 weapon attacks with advantage, and then you could spend 2 points as an exploit for Mystic Synergy to add an additional attack. So we talked about this early at the front end when we first started this. So double strike, you make 2 weapon attacks, and then you get an extra attack. So the 2 weapon attacks would be an advantage, and then as a bonus action, you would make 2 attacks with advantage, and then using Mystic Synergy, you could make a 3rd attack. So for 5 mana, that's how you only have to be at most 10th level. At minimum, you have to be 10th level to do this double strike at all. But then you would also then be able to put the Mystic Synergy on top of it. So for 5 mana at 10th level, as a single bonus action, you can make 3 attacks. So a ranger at 10th level, say using... let's say you're making, I think Hunter gets an extra attack as part of their attack actions as one of their class features. So you could do 1, 2, 3 attacks as an action. Then you could use a bonus action for double strike, and then Mystic Synergy for up to 6 attacks that round as a 5 mana cost 10th level. I'm pretty good with that. It's expensive for them to do it. And they don't only have at 10th level, they don't only have 20 mana at all. So that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Flicker Pounce. You can teleport up to 30 feet to a space within melee reach of a creature you can see and make an attack. Make an attack against it. Make a weapon attack. If the attack succeeds, you can choose to teleport back to your original position without provoking an attack of opportunity. If the attack fails, you don't teleport away. Falling damage within movement deals no damage, not prone. Falling damage. Falling damage within movement deals no damage, doesn't knock you prone. If the attack fails, you can teleport up to 30 feet to a space within melee reach. Oh, that's talking about it as a reaction. So that would move down to reactions. That's something else to look at when we get there. You can teleport up to 30 feet to a space within reach You can teleport up to 30 feet to a space within 5 feet of a creature you can see and make a weapon attack against it. If the attack succeeds, you can choose to teleport back to your original position without provoking an attack of opportunity. If the attack fails, you don't teleport away. Okay. Using Mystic Synergy. If you do this as a bonus action, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. So you can already make an attack. So this allows you to make 2 attacks. For 5 mana, you could teleport in, make 2 attacks, and then flicker back out. But the first attack has to succeed. If the attack succeeds, you can choose to teleport back to your original position without provoking an attack of opportunity. Okay, so if that first attack succeeds, you can teleport out. So I think it's pretty inferred that the attack action would happen while you teleported to the new position, but I guess technically it could happen at your original position. When you see a bonus action, when you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. At any time as part of the bonus action. Nah, that's probably just confusing it. Do I need to specifically parse language that specifies where and when at any time during as part of the bonus action that you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action? Is just as part of the bonus action? Is that sufficient? Like this teleportation thing, I'm making it, the bonus action triggers, it teleports you, so do I need to specify when you use a bonus action to channel maneuver? You can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. As part of the bonus action, you can make a weapon attack as part of and during, during the bonus action. Is that necessary? As part of the bonus action, either before, during, or after the... that's really clumsy. It's part of the bonus action. As part of the bonus action. So let's go up here and talk. Man, time flies when you're having fun. That didn't feel like 20 minutes. What is my timer at right now? Oh God, that is 20 minutes. And yeah, it's 1 o'clock. Okay, well, we're just going to keep pushing through these, and then we'll be done for the day. We're going to get through the Blood Hunter stuff. But I think it's important to note here. Let's see. Exploit powers, maneuver power, martial powers don't require material components. You can channel powers while you're holding objects. Maneuver powers, reaction powers, strike powers, sustain powers whenever you make a saving throw. The result of the save is less than your concentration effect. If a sustained power is locked. Range of effects. Timing of effects. Maybe that is important to note. Let's go with in some instances, such as when using a power, when channeling a power, triggers the option to use another power, such as the Mystic Synergy exploit power. In some instances, when channeling a power triggers the option to use another power, such as the Mystic Synergy exploit power, triggering when you use a bonus action to channel any maneuver, you can trigger the option to use another power. In some instances, when channeling a power triggers the option to use another power, you can use the additional triggered power before, after, or during the power during the bonus action. For instance, the Mystic Synergy exploit power triggers allows you to make a weapon attack. When you use a bonus action to channel any maneuver. This attack, the Mystic Synergy attack, can be used. Synergy attack can be used, can be made at the beginning of the bonus action, end of the bonus action, or while the at the beginning or end of the action, or during the action. It may be that this is such a niche scenario that Mystic Synergy is the only time this could be used. So maybe let's just add it to Mystic Synergy specifically until we see numerous circumstances occurring that would require us to create a timing scenario here. When you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. This attack can be made at the beginning or end of the action, at the beginning, end, or during the action. Beginning, end, or during the action. That's probably good enough language. This is the kind of stuff that we were looking for today. So good job, Flicker Pounce. Thank you. Sleeper hold. Haha. While grappling. While grappling a creature, makes it can where's my restraining hold language? There we go. Let's just steal that. While grappling, you can force a grappled creature make a strength or dexterity saving throw. If the save succeeds, the creature takes 5 power dice of damage. That's going to be 5d10 damage, either weapon or type of mana. Or type by mana. Period. If the save fails, the creature becomes unconscious. Is unconscious until the creature succeeds a Constitution saving throw. Make a Constitution saving throw. Make a Constitution Saving throw. Until the creature succeeds a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns or the grapple ends. In its turns, let's see. If the save fails, the creature becomes unconscious until the creature succeeds a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. The grapple ends. If the creature takes damage, period. Cool. And again, you could make you could spend 2 mana to make an attack roll. Granted, if you make the attack roll against the unconscious creature, it wakes up, but you would get the auto crit. So that's probably worth it. Like a rogue that were to sneak up and sleeper hold to sleep and then slit their throat. If they succeed the check, they're gonna take 5d10 damage regardless, which could just end them anyway. But if you wanted to, you could. That's a great path. Like if you're going to throw 5 mana at it, you're either going to knock them out. Well, first got to grapple them, and once they're grappled, which you use with a grappling strike we have down below, you could grapple them, and then once they're grappled, you could use sleeper hold as a bonus action. And if the sleeper hold succeeds, then when you, as part of Mystic Synergy, you would then be able to make the attack roll, which would then trigger as a crit, which would also trigger as advantage, which would allow you to then sneak attack. So the rogue could spend its actions grappling, bonus action to sleeper hold, and then Mystic Synergy to slit their throat to deal not only crit damage, but sneak attack damage on top of it. Oh man, that's cool. And it's 18th level, so it's reasonable. It's not like you're disintegrating them or power word killing them. That's like a 4-step process to grapple them and then to sleeper them and then to get your sneak attack, slit your throat. It's technically a 3-action sequence. So that's fine. Okay, cool. Now we're moving down into Bloodhunter power conversions. Number 1, Curse of the Eyeless. As a bonus action, target creature reduces attack rolls by 1 PD until intelligence save at the end of each turn. Cool. That's great. So we get rid of the bonus action nonsense. Let's see. A creature you can see has a penalty of 1 PD to attack rolls until it succeeds an intelligence saving throw at the end of each round. PD attack rolls. The creature can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each, at the end of its of each, at the end of each of its turns. At the end of each of its turns, success ends this effect. Period. Ending the effect when it succeeds. So, a creature you can see has a penalty. You curse a creature. You curse a creature you can see with a penalty of 1. With a penalty with a penalty to attack rolls. You curse a creature you can see to reduce the result of all attack rolls by 1 PD. The creature can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect when it succeeds. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And this is a maneuver, which means that it can have Mystic Synergy, which means you can make an attack as part of the action. But Curse of the Eyeless is something you could do as an action and a bonus action. When done as a bonus action, you can spend 2 additional mana to use Mystic Synergy to make an attack roll as part of this action. So, cool. Healing Radiance. Creatures within 30 feet, within 60 feet, gain healing equals 1 power die per mana burn. Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Healing Radiance. A creature. You can heal 1 creature within 60 feet. A number of hit points equal to the result of 1 power die per mana burned. Nice. And again, you can tack on to mana to make an attack while you're doing this. You can heal 1 creature you can see within 60 feet. Thank you. Curse of the Muddled Healing Radiance. Curse of the Muddled Mind. As a bonus action, that gets nicked. You curse a creature you can see within 30 feet. So, you can see within 30 feet to oh, geez. Okay. Wow. So, Curse of the Eyeless, that is listed as an ongoing effect. So I'm gonna change that language to match Curse of the Eyeless. See, within 30 feet. To reduce all ability checks and concentration checks by 1 PD. The creature can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect when it succeeds. Okay, cool. And again, the synergy works. Same. Cursed Brand. As a bonus action, don't need to say bonus action. Creatures within 30 feet is at disadvantage to save versus your powers. The effect ends when the creature succeeds a save against. Okay. You curse a creature you can see. You can see to wow, these are ridiculous. You know, I'll check my phone here real quick. Clear, and cleared. Okay, cool. And we are at 1:15. Cool. Yeah, we're gonna finish up these last few, and then we'll be done for the day. So how fun. Let's see. How's our stream stability doing? Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's see. Cursed Brand. You curse a creature you can see. How to word this? To suffer. To make saving throws against your powers with disadvantage. The effect ends when the creature succeeds a save against your powers. I don't know if that's the right language or not. That's kind of clumsy. You curse a creature you can see to make saving throws against your powers with disadvantage. The effect ends when the creature successfully saves against one. Period. Maybe that's good. If you guys think that needs to be worded more clearly where you understand the gist, let me know. I don't necessarily ask you to provide me with the final written professional answer, but I just want to make sure that makes enough sense to you guys to play test it. That's good. All right. Brand of Azion. Don't need to note, as a bonus action, target creature within 30 feet must wisdom save or dispels any illusion or shapeshift. Ooh, neat. Period. Curse a creature you can see to make a saving throw. Brand of Azion. Let's see. You. You force a creature you can see within 30 feet to make a wisdom saving throw. If the save succeeds, if the save fails, oh, this will be good. If the save succeeds, you can see the true. You can see the true form of the creature. You can see through. How about that? You can see through any. You can see through all illusions and shape change effects. Two mana, huh? Okay, so you force a creature you can see within 30 feet to make a wisdom saving throw. If the save succeeds, you can sense if there's any illusions or shape change effects. You can sense if the creature is affected by any illusions or shape change effects. Period. Though not specifically what the effects are. Period. If the save fails, all illusions and shape change effects affecting the creature. I hate that. Effects affecting. But it is accurate. Creature end. I don't necessarily like that language, but that's why I hire writers and editors to help clean it up. So last one here. Maneuver 5, Wave O Terror. Period. Bop, bop. So I'm going to need some more maneuvers. There's this. There are no fourth rank maneuvers, and there probably should be. Wave of Terror. As a bonus action, we don't need that. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet makes a wisdom saving throw. If successful, frightened until save at end of the turn. If failed, stunned. Ooh, wow. That is worth a 5. Okay, cool. You all you can choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. A wisdom saving throw. If the save succeeds, if the save succeeds, the creatures are frightened. Of you. If the save fails, the creature you can choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. If the save succeeds, the creature is... Each creature that succeeds is frightened of you. Each creature that fails is stunned. Is also stunned. Period. Each creature can make an additional saving throw at the end of its turn to end the end. And the effects. Is that right? Each creature that fails is also stunned. Each creature can make an additional saving throw at the end of its turns. At the end of each of its turns to end these effects. Period. Cool. Okay, that is maneuvers for now. So, does Wave of Terror 5th level feels right for the stun effect, and the frightened effect is a nice kicker. Let's see. So we have 2 5th. We have 0 4th. We've got, what about 3rd? We got 2 3rd. We got 1 2 3 4 5 6 2nd, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 first. So we have an absence of 4th rank maneuvers, which I think we can probably help at least get some stuff into. What about this one? Healing Radiance. You can heal. That's first. 5th is Wave of Terror. 5th is Sleeper Hold. While grappling. Yeah, we're gonna have to find some 4th level maneuvers to add in here. let's see. I know that Harnetico had been helping develop some different maneuver ideas in the form of telekinesis, time, and force effects. The Hunter stuff is here. And we also had done some racial feature ideas. Control tanks. This is all that stuff. Control tanks, maneuvers. First, second. There was no fourth. We have Wave of Terror already integrated here. Strikes. Telekinetic control abilities. Maneuver 1, maneuver 2's maneuvers, no 4. Simic hybrid. Time shift stuff. Incarnum ideas. Well, if we can't get ourselves to having any 4th rank powers, then we might reduce the 5th rank powers to just the 4th. But unconsciousnesses. Well, I mean, to be fair, sleep as a spell is only 2nd level. So 1 creature being unconscious with 3 actions required to actually trigger damage on them. That's not horrible. Yeah, so let's tentatively do that. Let's tentatively go into here and switch this one to a 4. Takes 1 PD per mana, damage. So you could either do 4 or 5 PD of damage on this sleeper hold thing. Gabba 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 gabba. Wave of Terror, are we still okay with Wave of Terror being as it is? Mass Stun is pretty damn effective. Let's look at Fear real quick. Let's just satisfy that Fear. Spell Fear equals 3rd level, 1 minute, self 30 foot. You project a phantasmal image of a creature worse fears that each creature in a 30 feet cone must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or drop whatever it is holding and become frightened for the duration. While frightened by the spell, a creature must take... We already know what you have to do with the frightened condition. Whatever. So just... 5th edition tag system for conditions is just horrible. But, so 3rd level spell. Within 30 feet of you is a lot more than a 30-foot cone. Each creature that fails is also stunned. Wave of Terror. You can choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. Each creature that succeeds is frightened of you. Each creature that fails is also stunned. Each creature can make an additional saving throw at the end of each turn to end these effects. That's kind of clumsy. within 30 feet of you. Do I like that? That's a lot more powerful than just the cone. So that alone. If we drop it down to 4. Each creature, screw it. Each creature that fails, let's just tone it down so it's a 4. Each creature that fails is frightened of you. It's frightened of you. This effect persists until you are creature loses line of sight. Loses line of sight. Succeeds a wisdom. This effect ends when a creature. No, wait. Okay, so this effect ends for a creature when it succeeds a saving throw at the end of each of its turns. If it no longer line of sight with you, or if you fall to 0 HP, or if you fall unconscious. Okay, so that begs the question. Hey, we are pretty much done for the day, which is great. But it does beg the question of what ends martial powers. So let's go ahead and take a gander back up here. Range of effects. Let's go with many martial powers have effects that end when a many martial powers that affect creatures remain active until they succeed a saving throw or other conditions. Armads. Any power that affects a creature ends if the character channeling the falls unconscious. Many powers that affect a creature end when they succeed a saving throw. Each power requires a separate save. Period. Sustained powers. As detailed above. Remain active until dismissed, or you lose concentration, or begin a long rest, a short rest. I think that's language, because a lot of these things can be refreshed on shorts, so they end on shorts. Remain active until dismissed during your turn as a free action if the power is successfully dispelled, as well as when you start a short or long rest. Or long rest, fall unconscious, or lose concentration. Sustained powers. Some sustained powers. Impose effects on creatures. And effects caused by sustained powers don't necessarily end the sustained power. Rather, they end the power's effect on the creature, which we'll get into more details later. So great. I think this has been a really successful venture for us today. We've certainly had to hash through a lot of details here, but I'm pretty happy with maneuvers, and I'm seeing that there's a gap at the higher end. I honestly don't have a problem with not having exploits and maneuvers and strikes or any of the disciplines of power. I don't insist on having powers that rank from 1 to 5 themselves, because a lot of them you can spend up to your max rank, which is always 5th at 18th level. So that covers a lot of the gaps. You don't need powers that you'll never be able to get access to unless you get to 14th or 18th level. There are obviously some of them, but that isn't the guiding light behind the project. The project is it allows you to spend up to 5 mana on powers. Sometimes it's like with strikes, you can spend multiple strikes that total 5 mana. Exploits work the same way. Some of these powers allow you to increase the amount of dice that you use when you put more mana into them, and some of them just don't. They're worth 1. Like a lot of these exploits are like, it's 1 mana, and these are the benefits that you get from that 1 mana. Sustained abilities or sustained powers are also similar in that way, but don't necessarily follow those same rules. They're all different. So I am not in the least bit disappointed that we only have exploits that go up to 3rd rank, for example. We have maneuvers that go up to 4th rank currently because we've just modified them, and I'm okay with that. But we're going to see as we go down below that there are probably going to be some 5th rank maneuvers that can crop up. But once we get all of these fleshed out and good to go, then we'll be able to integrate them all in together. And we should be pretty good. Reactions don't go beyond 4th. I'm fine with that. Strikes do go up to 5th, and I'm happy with that. Oh no, they only go up to 4th also. Neat. So, but yeah, we got a lot of stuff sustained. Of all of them have the potential of getting up to 5th the most. But we're gonna have to go through all this content and just fix it like I have to fix everything else. And that's going to be the next few weeks of the Martial Power Monday project that we're working on. And so we have now gotten through maneuvers. And next week we are going to work on reactions. And like, subscribe. Description down below. Follow me on Twitter, and check out the books I put on DMsGuild. They're 100% free for you to look at to see if you like how I do design in general. They're always when I see a better way to do them, I'll go and I'll change the PDF, but leave the original document for you to download along with the other content. So keep an eye out for changes that may be coming on, and if you got any questions, be welcome to ask in the comments here, or ask me on Twitter. But thanks a lot for showing up, and we'll do more of this next week. And keep an eye out for announcements about this playtest content jumping online for you for free to look at on the Patreon, and to see the full martial powers with absolutely everything in the kitchen sink that we've been dumping into this so far, available for you to view, unedited, still in the ideation period. For you to see where it's at and how it evolves as we go through, moving things from the full document into the playtest documents until the full document is available in playtest prior to writer and editing cleanups and layouts and stuff, so that we can make it street legal for DMsGuild for us to share the content with you before it truly publishes. So looking forward to seeing you guys on the other side, and thanks so much.